This is a message primarily for the bright minds, but also for those who are not so enlightened and choose to continue to justify injustice, tyranny, oppression, and falsehood. About 3 years ago, I was pulled over by the police, and there was no traffic violation, there were no warrants, and they just pulled me over anyway. And so they patted me down. They had me in the back of the squad car running my license, my ID. And of course, there was no record, but I'm still sitting in the back of the car. Now, at the end of the ordeal, they didn't say, I'm sorry, apologize, or nothing, or we were mistaken or anything like that. They just carried on like that was just an okay thing to do, like it was just part of the program. Now, the following day, when I went to the local precinct to complain about it, I received no assistance whatsoever. Now, the whole experience to me was pretty much a traumatizing experience, I should say. It really is one of those experiences that, knock you clean into reality and makes you understand what's going on. And here's my problem with the situation. Had I responded during that incident to the harassment by the police, and something happened, I got tased or shot or anything like that, or locked up at the very least, then people would have said, and this is the truth, well, the police were wrong to profile the young man like that. Yeah, and he didn't do anything to violate the law and deserve that. But Greg should have just cooperated with the police. He should have cooperated with the police, and that wouldn't have happened. Yes, they were wrong, but he should have did what the police asked him to do. Now, on the other hand, George Zimmerman is sitting in the car, and Trayvon Martin is not murdering anybody. He's not vandalizing property. He's not committing a robbery. He's not in the process or in the act of committing a rape. But he looks suspicious. Sometimes people look suspicious. That don't mean you go grab and apprehend anybody, but maybe you're not familiar with seeing that person in the neighborhood. You keep your eye on him. But when he calls the police and the police tell him, sir, do not engage, suspect, we are en route, stay in the vehicle, remain in the vehicle, sir. When he fails to cooperate with the police and someone ends up getting murdered as a result of it, somehow he's doing, some of you same people that would say that I should have cooperated with the police, he somehow is just doing what anybody would have done. Now, the reality of that situation is, and I'm getting to a point right now, and you can probably hear it in my voice, that I'm finna get raw and I'm finna get real. And I didn't think that I was gonna do this necessarily, but sometimes you got to let the truth just go ahead and flow. See, obviously I was a congressional candidate. I'm involved in politics, and you don't see this too much in modern day politics. This used to happen back in the day when FDR and Dwight Eisenhower, those type of guys were running for office. You had a lot of fire. Winston Churchill, fire. People that had something to say, and they had a lot of passion, a little spark in their belly when they said it. And that was a beautiful time right there. Now everybody's bald and it's cooled out and manufactured. And, that just don't fit me. I don't like that at all. But some of you, just to be real with you, some of you are trying too hard to be politically correct. Some of you are trying too hard to come down on your own people. There is no self-defense when you initiate a confrontation. There's no such thing. Yes, if somebody, you into it with somebody and they grab your neck and start choking you, if they started it, and then you pull out a gun and shoot them, but when you go and initiate a confrontation and you are not warranted, you do not have authorization to apprehend an individual. They're not committing a crime. There is no citizen's arrest. That person is not committing a crime. He just looks suspicious to you. Now, if you know you are armed, and let's go to the other individual involved in the scenario, Trayvon Martin. If you're walking home and you're in the dark and an individual that you are unfamiliar with approaches you, obviously in an aggressive manner, and you turn around and see this person, first of all, that he is being aggressive, he has confronted you and you do not know him, and it is at nighttime, therefore it is in the dark. What would you do? In reality, Trayvon is the one who did what any of you would have done. Especially with that alone, but especially when you turn around and you see that this individual is armed with a firearm. What are you going to do? The natural instinct would be to try to kill him. Why? Because if someone is coming at you and is going to do some harm to you hand to hand or with a knife or some type of handheld weapon, then your best bet is to run, is to create distance. When a firearm is involved, that is the exact opposite of what you want to do, because when a firearm is involved and there's space between you, they can hit you, but you can't hit them. And when there's distance, it's easier to aim and knock you down. Whereas if you're close to them, you're right next to them, it's easy. It's you actually have a chance. It's not easy, but you actually have a chance to try to disarm this person. And that would be your best bet. Now, the case, I don't know what the hell was going on with the prosecution or why they couldn't go ahead and get this thing done. I mean, it's simple. It's open and shut. You do not approach an individual. First of all, you cooperate with the law enforcement. You should have lost right there. That the fact that you did not cooperate with the law enforcement. You interfered with police operations. I mean, if you call them and they're en route, you just violate the law right then and there. And you're not a police officer. If someone comes up to you and they have a gun, but you were able to say, "Hey, I'm Officer such and such," you hold your badge up, then they know what time it is. But if somebody just coming up to you and they just trying to stop you, they have no badge, they are not a police officer, they're a neighborhood watchman, it's in the, that's gonna be a problem. And you by yourself and you're just trying to get to the house. And especially if you're in an unknown neighborhood and you're looking around and try to say everybody knows you've been to a neighborhood that you're not familiar with, and you didn't know it was a fence right there around that corner. You thought it was a through street, and you thought you was gonna be able to just curl around there and get to the house. The boy probably was playing with breaking curfew and trying to get home real fast. There's any number of things could have happened. But the point is that there was no justification of George Zimmerman whatsoever. I mean, none. There is no such thing as self-defense. And it's sad that some of you have even resorted to calling the young man a thug and all that. What does that have to do with anything? Young man is not a thug. Thug is the people who send your children to war in Iraq and Afghanistan in order to take control of resources, whether it be the opium trade and so forth. A thug is some of these young people I've seen in Iraq posing with dead bodies and smiling and chop children's head off overseas. These things happen. Now, the question I have for you people is, when you see those images of these troops doing those things over there, do you look down upon them with the same scorn as you would me if I was sagging my pants? See, I'm going to tell it today. You're going to hear some truth. If you don't only hear it once in your life, you're going to hear something today. Because I'm quite frankly tired of y'all. Because it wasn't what George Zimmerman did. It's how y'all reacted to it. Because see, this isn't an isolated incident. This is just one that so happened to garner media attention. That's all this is. You have hundreds of black people every year to get murdered by the police. In Chicago, Barack Obama ain't gonna talk about this. Neither is Bobby Rush or Jesse Jackson Jr. But in Chicago, or in the state of Illinois rather, you have, countless brothers doing 20 and 30 years for crimes they did not commit because the police tortured them into confessing under authorization of Mayor Daley. And then when Rahm Emanuel left Barack Obama as his chief of staff, Barack Obama replaced the man with Mayor Daley's little brother. They had a guy named Daniel Taylor a couple weeks ago out of Chicago, just got out. Now they had him on Fox 13 News, our news, actually showed this story. Brother got sentenced to 20 years for a crime he didn't commit, and he actually did 18 years, and then it wasn't even a law. It was I think it was like a college organization, somebody that had did a lot of work in bringing forth evidence and ended up getting the brother off. Now after he did 18 years out of the 20 that he was sentenced to. And as it turned out, at the time that the crime that they accused him of was being committed, he was being questioned by the police actually about something else that had happened. And the police tried to say, well, we never questioned the guy. He lied about that. And it only came to light when somebody found the documents that showed that, yes, he was being questioned at that time. Now, I thought the first thing you're supposed to ask when it comes to somebody committing a crime was, where were you on the night of such and such at this time? In other words, do you have an alibi? I thought that was the first thing you're supposed to say. And so they're supposed to look into that. I mean, if you're in the justice system, you know that there is corruption there. So look into it yourself. Don't take the word of the damn police. I mean, it don't make sense. And now this brother had 18 years of his life taken away for no reason. A couple of years ago, WGN News was showing what I was talking about. They did a story about all these brothers that had did all this time. And the feds are the ones that investigated and found out that Mayor Daley, Richard Daley, had something to do with authorizing the police to do these types of things. And, they had a brother that did 23, that got sentenced to 23 years and did 21 years. Torturing. Like it's the Inquisition or something. Just like they got people down there in Guantanamo Bay, you got children down there. You got 15, 17-year-olds being tortured, waterboarded. No evidence that they committed any act of terror. But nevertheless, they down there being held. Some people been held down there 20 years. Torture. This is what the United States government is doing. This is what your government doing. The land of the free. The land with the same the same nation with the largest prison population on the planet Earth. But ain't afraid to call themselves the land of the free. I'm going to get to that in a minute, because that's very important. Now, back to the Trayvon Martin situation. There was actually a man in Massachusetts that I read about named John White. John White was about 54 years old, so he had a son that's about 19, named I forgot his son's name, but the similar situation took place with him. He's a black man, and young white guy named Daniel Cicciaro came to this man's house one night because someone had accused his son of raping somebody. So one night, Daniel Cicciaro, and the police said that the rape accusation was bogus. But Daniel Cicciaro came to the man's house, to his house. He wasn't walking in the neighborhood. He came to the man's house. And he wasn't alone. He had a